Hello, Grandma Griggly here again with some more stories about some of my hats. They're rather good for recall and reminiscing, and they're another good trigger to the memory. And if there's any of these hats mind you in a story, I'd love to hear for them. You tell me your stories if you can mind them. Now, the first hat that's come out of the bag today is what I call my Princess Margaret Rose, and this was the late 50s. Now, the thing was that this was kind of the beginning the mass-produced hats. They were affordable, because you see you had to have a lot of chinky chink to afford some hats long ago. You can't afford that. But from the beginning to make them mass-produced, then folk was able to buy them cheaper. You could go to C&A's and buy a hat. Now, the thing I like about this was, see all these nylon roses? I'm going to tell you something. If you can fit the word nylon comes from, well, I'm going to tell you the word nylon comes from N-Y for New York and L-O-N for London. Nylon, N-Y-L-O-N, New York and London. No, I bet you didn't ken that. Or if you did, tell me about it. Now, the other thing is, it's the beginning of a new material called nylon. And you got drip dry nylon shirts long ago. The mannies with drip dry shirts. Now, the thing about the drip dry shirts, you were only supposed to swell them out and hang them out to drip dry. But you see, the wifeys were just half used to washing stuff in really hot water. And what happened was they would get all creased, and then they would try and iron them. And then what happened with the iron to shirts, and the shirts all melted. So there really wasn't a big success, the dry nylon shirts. Now, the next thing that's come out of the bag is the Salvation Army. Now, isn't this a lovely bonnet? I just love it. And I've had it for good authority that the queens for the Salvation Army used to keep their purse and their brush in their bonnet when they go out singing. Now, the very first bonnets long ago, they had a bigger scoop because folk used to throw rotten tomatoes and eggs at them. And now, if I was in a care home, I would be asking you fit the magazine was at the Gadrona pub selling on a Saturday night, and it was the war cry, and there was a young soldier, it was ithering. Now, the thing about this is, it is a scoop at the back, and that was for their bun at the back, because they would wear a bun. They stopped wearing the bonnets because it became very expensive to buy, and the Salvation Army felt, it was maybe putting folk off from joining the army if they couldn't afford the army uniform. So they now have berries, but I still like this bonnets. And it was called a Hallelujah bonnet, yeah? And it was first made in the 1980s. And the designer was Annie Lockwood, and it was cost 30 pence. 30 pence it cost. And they stopped wearing them in 1970. What a lot of things I can. The next thing that's come out of the bag, now this is the 1950s, getting into the 60s, and this is what you called the flower pot hat. Now, the thing about the flower pot hat, this was made with raffia, and again, it was a cheap material, and it was something that everybody could afford to buy. It was cheap to buy, and it was the flower pot hat because it was the shape of a flower pot. And you see the beginning of the early 60s, brighter colours was coming in, and it was very wearable, and everybody liked it, the flower pot hat. Everybody get their wedding wears hat on. Okay, now I'll finish up, and if you'd like to hear any more stories, I'll come back. Okay, and if you've any stories to tell me, I would love to hear them. Okay, Grandma Griggly, tatty bye.